I wasn't born blind. For the first 16 years of my life, it was a pretty standard upbringing and I really had no major challenges. When I was 16 years old, one day sitting up the back of my science class, I noticed what the teacher was drawing on the board was a little bit blurry, and I just had that gut instinct, that intuition that we get from time to time that something wasn't quite right. So upon calling my dad to get some advice, he then told my mum. We ended up in hospital. The emergency department was doing all these different tests, trying to figure out what was going on, and they decided to keep me in overnight. The next morning when I woke up, I could hardly see a thing. Overnight, I had just lost 98% of my eyesight, just like that.
So I haven't always had no legs. I was born pretty normal. I grew up in a great family. I love sport and everything like that. But when I was just 18 years old, I remember I went across on a football trip to Tasmania. And last thing I remember was saying goodbye to my mum. And the next thing I remember, I woke up back in Melbourne at the Alfred Hospital after a 5.5-week induced coma as a result of contracting meningococcal disease. As a result of the meningococcal, my injuries were catastrophic. My weight actually went from 80 kilos right down to 47 kilos. I had liver failure, kidney failure, I had a few bleeds in my brain, and physically my body was just in tatters. I lost my right leg below my knee, half of my left foot, a couple of fingers on my right hand, skin grafts all over my body. My nose was even taken away as well. And it's fair to say, I'd gone from a happy, healthy 18-year-old kid to in a fair bit of strife, what seemed like the click of her fingers.
When I first lost my eyesight, I thought it was going to limit my life in so many ways, but in actual fact, it's nearly done the complete opposite. Being blind has opened up so many different opportunities for me, and I've been able to achieve some things that I'm incredibly proud of. Some of those include skiing and competing in the Southern 80, the world's fastest and most dangerous water skiing race in the world. 80 kilometres along the Murray River, 125 bends at over 150 kilometres an hour. Another one is the fact that when I was a tiny little kid, I'd always dreamt of travelling to Papua New Guinea and crossing the Kokoda track, 96 kilometres through the treacherous jungle. I can now say that I've done that twice and absolutely loved it.
So some of my proudest achievements have actually come about because I made a really tough decision 9 years after I got sick originally. I was left with a foot that would never heal. I was pretty embarrassed of it, to be honest with you. I used to cover it up all the time, and I knew that something needed to be done about it, but I kind of ignored it and swept it under the carpet because I didn't want to face up to what that thing was. 9 years after, I decided to amputate that second leg, that dead weight that I was carrying around with me, and it was by far the best decision that I've ever made in my life. Since then I've been able to wear a prosthetic leg, same as I do on my right side, which has actually always been my stronger leg, and now I can walk pain-free. And after making that decision, all of a sudden doors started to open up for me. I was able to get back to doing things like running again, which was amazing. Being able to move fast under your own steam as opposed to just sort of limping around everywhere was incredible. And without a doubt, one of my proudest achievements, or if not my proudest achievement, was being able to get back to golf, which is a sport that I've always loved, and get back to a better level of golf than when I actually had legs. And a couple of years ago, I got to share the most incredible experience with my dad, who I'm incredibly close with, where I got to play in the first ever All Abilities Championship at the Australian Open in Sydney with my amazing father caddying for me in that experience.
So Mike and I met a few years ago now, and we connected, decided to catch up because we had very similar experiences with going through challenge.
Both lived in Melbourne.
Yeah, both lived in Melbourne. So Mike organised, let's have a coffee at a cafe.
Did.
And he said, I'll meet you out the front. And then I got a text of, got a table out the front, mate, I'll see you soon. I thought, wise choice of words.
Yes. Didn't think that one through.
Already trying to have a joke, and I loved it. So all of a sudden, I've come walking down, literally bumped into Mike. Mike had his head down at the table.
Yep.
So by sheer fluke, we ended up at the same table,
bumped into each other, and very quickly after that we started having a chat, and I quickly realised after finding out that Ben's a ripping bloke that we had a lot in common, and in the way we tackle life, challenge, adversity, but also the fact that we love sport, like having a laugh at our own expenses, and we became pretty good mates pretty quickly.
Absolutely.